Hey BG Squad, welcome to News You Can Use. I'm your host Brandon Gonez, and today we are in St. Jamestown. It actually sits right in the middle of downtown Toronto in the riding of Toronto Centre. And listen to this riding is actually held by the only elected black woman MP sitting in the House of Commons. I'm talking about Marci Ien. You probably know that name. Beloved broadcaster on Canadian TV for more than 2 decades, now turned a politician, an MP. In fact, it was 9 months ago that she was elected. So we wanted to check in with Marci to see how the journey has been. Marci Ien.
Brandon Gonez.
I love that I get to sit on a bench with you.
Me too. Thank you so much for this. Thanks for reaching out. Thanks for taking the time.
Well, I'm glad that we're here in St. Jamestown, and we're actually in front of a building that is pretty special to your story.
This is my quiet place, this bench, and it is special because in the late 60s, Brandon, my parents emigrated from Trinidad and Tobago, and they came here to St. Jamestown. My dad came to go to U of T, and my parents couldn't afford for both to go to school at the same time. So my dad went first, and this is the building, the St. John, 700 Ontario, where we lived. It's where I was born, and just across the way at Rose Avenue, my sister, who is 7 years my senior, attended school. So I come back here, and it's like, okay, this is where it all began, and it feels so full circle, Brandon, because now I get to serve this community as an MP. It's completely full circle.
It's like, there's so much
but look at,
community in here.
Do you see what I mean? And
but
people have each other's back, like it's not a joke.
But this area gets stigmatized so much.
Of course, because people don't know, right? It's like Jane Finch.
Yeah.
Right? It's like Jane Finch. People don't know. You hear about things in the news. You hear about Bleecker, Bleaks, right? You hear about, Rose Avenue. You hear about all sorts of things.
It's been, 9 months now?
9 months.
Since you were sworn in?
We're just creeping into 9 months since I was elected.
Yeah.
And became MP designate, but wasn't sworn in till late November.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until a month after that. Good.
Yeah, it's so interesting because so many people grew up watching you on TV, holding.
You're making me feel old, Brandon.
Politician. But you're so young, Marci.
You're making me feel old, Brandon.
You're so good and young. But you know what I mean? Like, they watched you holding politicians to account, and now you are the politician. So what's the reception been like for you?
The first question and the biggest question that people asked me on the campaign trail during the by-election is, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Like, you're a journalist. What are you doing here? And I said, well, I want to serve. This is the community that welcomed my family. It's where we got our start. And so I really feel it's about giving back. I was really fortunate to hold a pretty big microphone as a co-host on The Social. And before that on Canada AM, and you're right, part of my job was to hold politicians to account, to ask questions. And I want all those questions now. But the thing is, I also think that I bring a fresh perspective. I am the first Black MP to hold the riding of Toronto Centre. I don't take that lightly.
There's weight to that.
But there's responsibility, Brandon. And the fact is, we need more. And so that's what this is about too. To say, I'm going to leave my comfort zone. I'm going to leave the world of journalism where I've been for about 30 years, and I'm going to do this because I want to make sure that people see that this is possible. It's not easy, but that it's possible. So please hold me to account. When the Prime Minister called, and he did call, and we had conversations about whether I would run, he said something really important. He said, notice that I'm asking you now with the voice you're using now. That voice that we're seeing calling us to account, calling Canadians to account, to do better for people of color, to be more inclusive. Diversity is one thing. We are a diverse country, but inclusivity is quite another. Inclusivity means you have a voice at the table. You're being heard, you're being listened to.
And are you being able to use that voice?
Absolutely. It was so interesting when Budget 2021 came down. And Chrystia Freeland and Mona Fortier, they both said something important. And they said, we hope you see yourselves in this budget. And when I looked at programming for Black people, when I looked at indigenous programming, when I looked at affordable housing, when I looked at all the things that are important to this riding and all of Canada, I did see. Because there were certain things that we brought forward as an office and said, this is what we're seeing. Please pay attention. Mental health, you know, street involved people. This is what we're seeing. Please pay attention, take note. And I saw it. Childcare. It's like, hello.
That's
that was
a massive one. Billions of dollars committed to that. I mean, for many people, they've seen promises like this before though. So a lot of people are nervous that, will this end up just being a promise?
That's where people have to hold us to account, Brandon. And that question you asked me before about, you used to hold politicians say, that's where they have to hold us to account. But what we're seeing for the first time, at least in a long time, is provinces signing on, saying, we're with you in Atlantic Canada, we're with you in British Columbia. This is where governments at all levels have to come together. It isn't just one level of government, it's all levels of government coming together to get this done. So I'm hoping that Ontario signs on and other provinces sign on. I don't sometimes have the patience. And when I say that, I want things done
like now.
And that's not how this system works. It is very much a system. It's like, I want everybody housed right now. I want everybody off the street right now. I want everybody to be in affordable housing right now. I want, you know, Black lives to matter more. I want Indigenous lives to matter more. I want LGBTQ2S plus lives to matter. All those things, and it's a process. And so what it is focus, right? Like if we can move the needle just a little bit at a time, then that's something, right? And speak up about things and try to, you know, educate those who need some education about things and listen to what the community means, because it's not going to happen overnight, Brandon. And I want it happening yesterday.
You know, Marci, you've talked about Indigenous lives. We're going through kind of a reckoning right now across the country.
Are we ever?
Truth and Reconciliation is there, like the report. Do you think that's going to be adopted by the Liberals, and fully implemented?
Should it be? Absolutely. Absolutely. And here's the thing, Brandon, I can't sit here and tell you I'm shocked about the remains that we're finding, you know, on the properties of these former residential schools. Who's shocked about that? I certainly am not. I got in touch with, well, I call them my family in La Lâche. They said the elders have been talking about this
for a long time.
For a long time. We knew it was there, right? But here's what I do know, that this has to be community-led. Like, I want Indigenous people to be telling us, what do you want us to do? It's not for us to go in there and say, this is how we're doing it, this is what's happening. It's truth and reconciliation and those things being adopted, but it's also, what do you want us to do now? How do you want us to approach this? It has to be community-led. But here's the good thing about this, right? Everything's front and center. Nobody can say that we don't know.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Some people were still trying to put their blinders on.
Right? There's no blinders now. This is genocide. This is genocide. There are no blinders now. This is our country's past and frankly present. So now it's on us. What are we going to do? How are we going to try and rectify this? What does truth mean? What does reconciliation mean? How are you holding us to account? Because it's all on the table now. But I don't know about you, you know, growing up and thinking about the derogatory language that was used to describe First Nations. Lazy. You know, they get money. What's the problem, right? Well, here's the problem. It's generational trauma. That's the problem.
Cycle of destruction.
It's the cycle of destruction and the layers and layers of trauma that hasn't been addressed. And you can't throw money at that. You can't throw money at what that does mentally and how that trauma is passed on. I don't know about you, but when I was growing up, I didn't hear about residential schools at all.
Not at all. Not in
the school curriculum.
Is that something that can be mandated though? I mean, I know that that's like provincial. It's a provincial matter, but
why not? Why not? Why can we not include learnings? And we absolutely should. Because this is why people are shocked. They didn't know. You know, here we are in, and I believe it's one of the most, as you've mentioned before, densest neighborhoods in the country. It's the most densely populated neighborhood in Canada.
One thing I have noticed, like even coming here, they're building new condo towers. When I look at the prices of those condos that they're selling, upwards of 600,000, 700,000.
Who can afford that?
Who can afford that?
But again, this is in conjunction with the province.
Right.
It's in conjunction with the city. It's about working together because we federally can say, okay, here's a chunk of money and this is for housing provinces, but then it's up to the provinces and the city how it is spent.
Right. When you look at the polls, and not everybody believes the polls, but
Yes.
they say a good majority of Canadians feel Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, and his government, which you are a part of, has done a pretty good job of handling the pandemic. But there's still a good fraction of Canadians who don't believe it was handled well. What do you think you guys could have improved on?
I think, and this has been noted, that it was a slow start.
Yeah.
It was a slow start, and the opposition was really vocal on that. Where are the vaccines? Look at the states. And then things started ramping up. Things started ramping up very, very quickly, as we said they would. And we had a diverse portfolio when it came to the vaccines. And then we started seeing the numbers. And then all of a sudden, Canada was #1 when it came to first doses, right, around the world. And that was something. And we're seeing things opening up. It's the reason that we can move into the next phase because we're seeing certain numbers. So do I think that things could have been improved at the outset? Absolutely. But let's take into consideration too that this is the first time in 100 years that we've been faced with this kind of situation.
Right.
But hats off to Torontonians, hats off to Ontarians for handling this well, for following the guidelines, because honestly, Brandon, it's the reason that we are where we are and the reason that we have improved at this pace. So we'll see. I mean, we are on pace to have everybody who wants a vaccine vaccinated by September or before at this rate.
Where do you see your political career taking you? What's your ultimate ambition?
I'm 52 in a couple of weeks, right? And so at a time when a lot of people would be thinking, what's the retirement plan in 10 years? Here I am pivoting this way. So I wasn't really thinking about where I'm gonna end up in the political realm. It was, I need to serve now. I just wanna make sure we're represented well at the table, and then it takes me where it takes me, right? Like, I want the people of Toronto Centre to say, she's serving us well, and then go from there.
Marci, thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. It means a lot. It really means so much, Brendan. Thank you.
Wasn't that such a fascinating conversation? And honestly, St. Jamestown, Bleecker, thank you for welcoming us into your neighborhood, giving us that energy, that ambiance, that atmosphere, that vibe. We really appreciate it. And listen, if you want to check in with what Marci Ien is continuing to do for her riding, follow her socials. You can find it right below. By the way, we drop Music News every Tuesday and Friday, so if there is a news story you want us to look into, email us, news@brandongonezshow.com. And if you haven't watched the latest episode of The BG Show, go do it right now. BG Squad, don't forget, comment, like, subscribe to this channel, tap that notification bell. We'll see you same place, same time.